Cuddy gets another TV comeback. House star Lisa Edelstein, who disappointed fans with her early departure from the Fox medical drama, has just booked a guest stint on Scandal. TV Line reports that Edelstein will appear as a very important client of Olivia Pope Associates and will make her debut later this season. This role on Scandal isn't her first post-House gig. She has also been seen on new CBS series Elementary, The Good Wife, and Showtime's House of Lies. Look out for Lisa's guest role this spring, and stick with us at Celebified for more of the latest TV buzz.